everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Steel City Insider podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Ritz, alongside publisher of Steel City Insider, Jim Wexell, and joining us today, Bo Marchionte, longtime friend of the show. Gentlemen, glad to have you here, and it's the first padded practice. Jim, what transpired at this first contact event?
Well, I think the best thing is what didn't transpire. No injuries.
All right.
That is always the worry when they tackle for the first time. I think back of all the guys they've lost that first, all went well in that regard. Other than that, I thought the guy who stood out to me, and I know it's going to sound crazy, and this is how meaningless practice is sometimes, Mark Robinson. Mark Robinson was the man.
Yeah,
And this is a run-oriented, backs-on-backers, big tough guy thing. Kendrell Bell would dominate, you know. So anyway, that's my main takeaway. Caleb Johnson struggled a bit. Jalen Warren even struggled a bit in pass pro. Other than that, the defense dominated on the field.
Yeah, it did.
Bo, your take?
I can echo what Jim says about Mark Robb, number 93. I mean, I can show you my notes. This 93, 93. 93. It's something about putting pads on Mark Robb and have backs on backers. Evan Hall was sadly the victim of going up against Mark Robinson today. And as Mark Robinson does, it's hard to stonewall number 93. And I think that momentum from backs on backers carried over to the team drills because, as Jim said, I mean, this kid was on fire today. I think he had 3 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, right? I know he had 2. He also pressured 1, and then he swarmed to get the ball. Get to the ball after that. So he did have a really fantastic day. Defense won the day. The offense kind of got it handed to him a little bit, and they're still finding their way. Jones did some he didn't do team, but he did some warm-up stuff, but he didn't take parts in 7 shots or any team stuff. Tomlin said he would be good to go, but for whatever reason, he didn't go.
It's a groin that he doesn't think is serious, and they have to look at their number 3 tackle anyway. Calvin Anderson was the guy today. I thought Dylan Scott was in the running from the other day. He stepped in, but looks like Calvin Anderson today. Calvin Anderson's bigger. Dylan, he's thin. He looks beatable. I've expected more from him over the last couple of years on the practice squad. One guy who really stood out was 99, Derek Harmon. He's a man. He's a man in there. A couple of years ago, I thought Keanu Benton was quite the man, and he is. But this guy puts Keanu, I don't want to say to shame, but he's much bigger, much more destructive inside. He destroyed some things early in practice. When you knew the other team was running, it was that kind of a day. It's team run for the most part. The smart vets, TJ went one-on-one with Ano in one-on-ones. It looked like he was working on some things, and it looked like he beat him the first time. And Fautano scrambled his butt off to hold his own the second time, and he did all right. But TJ isn't going at Mark Robinson's speed, right? All those guys, those veterans, they have their job. They want to hit. Hitting's mainly for the young guys, though, and for people that you can't say slow down to, like Mark Robb, as he's probably number 5 inside linebacker, scrambling for his job. He's not going to take it easy on anybody. Tomlin put him against Caleb Johnson, and he's a beast too. A big old inside throwback type inside linebacker. It just struck me that Peyton Wilson looked really impressive today too. Physical and aggressive. And we all know he's fast, but he looked like a different guy out there than he did last year.
And Jim, that lines up with what I was going to ask, because I always got to ask the inside backers, and I wanted to ask about Jack Sawyer too. So let's just keep with that linebacker theme. You mentioned there that Wilson looks like he's taking a step this year. What about Sawyer? Did he flash at all in backs on backers? And then how about Carson Bruner? Any noise from him?
Go ahead, Bo. I'll let you handle Jack Sawyer from Pickerington, Ohio. Where's he from? Pickerington?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to look at my notes here to see who Jack went up against. I have Jack going up against CJ Galbraith, the tight end, and then he went up. So he did that a couple times. I have 33 winning that particular drill. And if you actually watch the college tape of JJ, he's actually a pretty good blocker. So I took that to heart. I know he's a smaller size tight end, but then he's a scrappy kid. But I think when you see Sawyer, he just has a good burst. As Jim mentioned with Derek Harmon, I think Sawyer, when you see him, you just think there's another level to him that we're going to see develop in his career. The Steelers got this one right. He's going to be a guy that's going to be able to contribute. I carry this over all the way from rookie camp to OTAs to now here in Latrobe. I just think he's a guy that we can look at. And Peyton Wilson, he was going up against Kenneth Gainwell today. And Jim, I don't know if you got to see it, but they went at each other 3 straight times. And on the third and final time, which Peyton won, he kind of gave the get out of here to
Kenny G's a small dude.
Yeah.
And, it's like if he can hang on and show some guts, then he's won. But he's not, and he showed a lot of guts. He sticks his head in there. Jalen disagrees with this, but he got beat by 40. Who is 40?
40 is Jeremiah Moon. No, that's 40.
This is 49. Devin Harper.
Yeah, Devin Harper. Yeah.
Devin Harper, number 40, beat and Jalen didn't lead things off.
And that was
it was way down in the pecking order. Like he wasn't even going to participate today. We know what he can do. And then, he steps up, but he has pretty much a lot of status. He steps up with swagger, and it's nobody 40. We just had to look up on the roster, beat him. 40 claims he beat him twice. Jalen says, I beat him twice. Jalen was nonchalant after practice. Jalen took Caleb Johnson over to the bag swing there to work on pass pro. Caleb's an eager work. He didn't want to talk to the media after.
Jim, do you think that had anything to do with backs on backers? Because, he went against 50. He went to Malik, and they went 3 straight times. And I think Malik, obviously, as you mentioned, he's a linebacker. He should have the better of the day.
He's a beast. He's bigger than Mark Robb.
He's a big dude. But
that was intentional, giving him to Caleb. I'm sure they didn't think Caleb was going to win, but you saw how disappointed Caleb was, and he went and worked with Jalen after practice. Then he left and wouldn't talk to the media.
That's what you want.
He's a little upset. Yeah. He's going to work.
And I know after the second round of 50 and 20, Caleb wanted another round, but he was going to keep going. And as Jim said, there's a lot of fight in this kid. And I think the things that we saw today are a good thing, that he's mad and he's peed off that it didn't go his way, and he can't wait to probably get out there tomorrow and show his stuff.
Well, the thing that was bad is that he did get whooped. He's not ready. He's not there yet.
No.
They're going to be as big as Malik Harrison when it turns fastballs. He didn't have as much success running the ball either. Later, he cut one back to the right, was wide open. He saw it. He has the vision, and he popped it. That was late. Early, it was a struggle. Derek Harmon was up. Cam Hayward did not practice today. They had Dean Lowry, Keanu Benton, and 99. And 99 was getting a lot of reps too, Harmon. And he was very impressive. Very impressive. He's a big man in run defense, just as we suspected. Has no idea what he's doing rushing the passer. But today is that base. Today's where you start. They're watching film, pointing that out to him right now, the things he did wrong. But he's a big man. He belongs in there. He belongs in there. And it's good that he's learning now the right way.
Carson Bruner, anything there, or still too early to tell?
He went against a nobody 30. He went against number 35. I don't even know who he is.
I think that's Nichols. They just signed him the other day.
Lou Nichols, smaller guy. And he looked good. Carson beat him. Nothing. It wasn't Mark Robb. The guy's helmet bounced off the ground and stuff like that. But yeah, Carson looks the part.
Yes. Well, we spent a lot of time talking about the defense here, and you guys said that the defense won the day. Typically takes offenses a little bit longer to find a bit of a rhythm. What did you guys see from the offense in this practice, or even from the earlier practices in camp?
Go ahead.
I think there's still struggles with snaps. There's a couple times today where there's low snaps from Frazier to Rodgers, and that's kind of been a pandemic throughout camp so far. Those guys not, 7 shots, 3 straight days of the first snap was bad. And then I think that kind of continued today with some oddball snaps. I think offensively, and I thought Mason Rudolph looked the best of the 3. Not that Rodgers is doing anything wrong, but it just, I think there's some high passes. It's not as crisp as you'd like to see. You just get to see a little bit of that Aaron that we see on television after a pass. You don't know if he's frustrated with the receiver doing the wrong thing, or he's frustrated with himself. I don't know what the receiver needed to do, or again, he might have been upset with himself by not delivering the pass in the right spot. So, in the run game, Jalen was scrappy in a couple run plays. Nichols, the number 35, he had a couple of nice little runs, for a kid that's probably not going to make the team, but hey, he looks.
It's who they're going against, too. Rodgers is going against a really good defense.
Yeah.
I told Fautano was, saying we didn't have such a good day today. And I said, could it be that the defense is that good? And he looked at me like I just slighted him and the offense. But I was just trying to open the door to, that's a pretty good defense. It might even be the best one we've seen in a long, long time here. So I know last year's was ranked high, but this one could be that good. Two things about Aaron Rodgers. He talked to us yesterday, and it's such a mob scene, and it was after the Pat McAfee show. And so we crushed him in a mob. We had been waiting for so long. And so it's hard to ask what I think are good questions I'd like to sit down and ask him about and get real answers to. One is, are you ahead of where you were last year with the Jets? My guess is he is, physically. Two, what kind of arm management regimen do you have going? What can you tell me about not opening up and not wanting to let it all, try to throw bullets all over the place? I just think it's an easing into the situation for this guy, arm management of a 41-year-old arm who hasn't missed a day of practice, who hasn't really missed a turn, I don't believe. He's getting a lot of reps. He's getting a lot of work. I think it's all good. He's just missing. So I'd like to be able to sit down and hear him out on some of this stuff, but it's almost hopeless to get real answers in our situation with him. 1 year mercenary, and he doesn't care which one of us he might be able to trust in the long run. It doesn't matter. You all suck. I just want to go talk to McAfee, and that's cool. It's hard to get to know a whole group. So many times I see guys come in off trades very hesitant, like they grew hesitant from their past cities media. And I just think it's such an easy gig. We're such an easygoing group, in my opinion. But he doesn't know that. And he's just overwhelmed, I think. So you can't get any real quality truth. Not that he's lying, but I'd like to get more from him because I think there's an easement of a 41-year-old at this point in his career.
Yeah. So let's stick with the quarterback position. And Bo, I'm going to come to you, and then we're going to come over to the wide receivers. But a guy we talked about when he was drafted, Will Howard, got Steelers fans excited about him potentially maybe being a number 2 down the road, potentially sneaking into number 1 spot, but that seems like a pipe dream right now. How has Will Howard been performing here early in camp?
Well, I think he's a fan favorite. I think that's an easy thing to figure out by just hearing the fans' reaction when number 18's on the field. And the other day, he took his first team reps. I mean, there was a big applause from the crowd. I looked around like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, it's just because 18's in the game. So I think the fans know that, Rodgers said he's going to retire after next year. We don't know how much truth there is to that, but we know Mason isn't the long-term upside of this team. So, you got to hitch the wagons to a 6th-round pick, which I really don't necessarily think is going to happen in that circumstance. And just not off topic, but on topic. I think in the AFC, there's only one quarterback that's predicted to start for their team. That's not a 1st-rounder, and that's a 2nd-rounder, and that's Geno Smith for the Raiders. And then if you go to the NFC side, there's 4. So you got 5 quarterbacks in the NFL that aren't 1st-round quarterbacks. So it's just the process. Teams want these elite guys. Not that Howard can't develop into that guy. And I like him. I think he seems like a calm kid. He just looks the part. He has the size. He just looks like a quarterback. He carries himself in that kind of manner. I think he's made some good throws. Again, and Weck said he's going against the 3rd team, but Coach Tomlin said the other day, they don't want any artificial, bonuses. They want 1st team against 1st team, 2nd team against, 2nd team, 3rd against 3rd. That way you're kind of really seeing, what's there against what they're doing. So, but I like Howard so far, but it's a long climb. And again, even if success comes, just the long-term mountain that teams just want to have a 1st-round guy under center. And that'll be something, even if they go in the next year's draft, it would be hard to imagine that they wouldn't address the quarterback very early, even if, Howard, maybe played a couple games and he had to be.
The thing is, Howard becomes a second teamer next year, and that first round pick, Tomlin's a coach that abides by logic, and Howard will have worked his way up into the second team behind Mason. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, no.
But while the first round pick learns, and then he'll have to work his way up the same way Ben worked his way past Brian St. Pierre. I remember Ben was fourth team the first day. There was Brian St. Pierre. Then I think Charlie Batch got hurt, and it was Ben after Maddox got hurt. But yeah, Will's a good 6th round pick.
Yes, he's a very good pick.
It's funny, we didn't see it today as much as we did the other day. When Will came on the field, there was wild applause, and then he threw an incompletion, and there was nothing. Nobody heard anything except wondering who's behind him. I like him. That's talk radio for the next couple of years. What we saw to unfold on the field.
How about from an arm strength perspective from him and just a processing or his poise in the pocket? Does he get skitsy back there? Does he feel pretty comfortable?
It's good so far.
All
looks good so far. And he's going against third teamers, and he's got third teamers blocking for him. Let it play out. Let it play out. There's a lot of things to like about him, but to start calling for him to start is not wise.
Yeah. And Jim, I'm going to come to you with this one. So let's talk about the wide receiver group. I know Roman Wilson has been somebody that fans are watching. They want to see him take that step this year. I haven't heard too much about him out of camp. Have you guys seen otherwise?
Today was his best day.
Okay.
Today was his best day. It's not that I saw bad things from Roman. I just saw no things. There was an early out that Rodgers threw him, and it missed by like 5-7 yards, a short little out. It missed by a lot, and Rodgers was pointing as if Roman wasn't in the right spot, and I haven't seen Rodgers go back to him since. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't trust him. I don't know. But Mason likes him, and they found him a couple times today. He took a crosser, and then he turned up the sideline, and he's got speed. He's fluid, and he showed it today a little bit.
Yeah. And Jeremy, I mean, for me, I don't know if you think the same way, Jim. Like last year prior to him getting injured, I don't think he ever popped or showed up. He was just, somebody that was on the field. We knew his draft grade, where he was from, but I just don't think there was anything ever to get excited about. Entering year 2, I think from the time we were on the South Side when, early this season, I just thought you're like, wow, number 10, he's doing some things correctly. He's looking better. And I don't know if he's bigger, but he just looks a little bit more stocky. Like he added a little bit more muscle on, but I think he's had a good offseason, and it's instrumental to this team offensively for this kid to develop, because we all know that they're lacking a number 2. So it's going to be big. And real quick, the catch that Jim mentioned earlier today, where he caught it and he took it up the sideline, Pat Freiermuth was always the charismatic man on the sidelines, and he yelled, "Great play." He yells, "Great play, Row Man." So he just doesn't call him Row Man. He calls him Row Man.
You seem higher than him on me. I mean, he made catches today in practice. He needs to get it together. I don't know that he's an outside guy. And I said this at lunch. I think I could press him.
Be careful.
Yeah, I know. He'll come up to me tomorrow and say, "Hey, dude. Hey, old man. Come here." So, but I do think Joey Porter Jr. can press him. I think he's a slot guy. And I don't know how much that's going to help, because I think Johnny's a slot guy and Gainwell's a slot guy. Some of these other position guys are going to bite into that number 2 role. And Calvin's going to get his too. Calvin looks pretty good.
Man, Calvin looks good. I just think
not the threat we all want out of, a couple wide receivers on the field with Aaron Rodgers. So they're lacking there. Yeah.
Big time.
So I got 2 more questions for you guys. One is more player oriented, and then I'm going to bring it home with a broader question where I'm going to ask for kind of an overall perspective from what you've seen so far. But let's talk about the players acquired via the trade, Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey, and what we've seen from them and their contribution so far. Bo, if you want to start.
Well, I mean, I'm excited about Jalen. First of all, he has a pulse. A few days ago, I think the first day of training camp, they sent him on some blitzes, and he's been in the backfield. And I noticed today, Deshaun Elliott blitzing a lot. They were putting him, sending him. And then I know Ramsey got sent. So I think it's defensively, it looks like they're going to be a little aggressive, especially with the pieces Tomlin has at his discretion. And I just think he's a good fit. And I think that type of talent resonates. And then on the Jonnu side, I talked to him the other day just about his relationship with Arthur Smith. And he just said these guys were texting all the time. He said he's in the football world, he's like a father figure, an uncle to him, a big brother. So there's a lot of confidence. Darius Slay said yesterday the key to winning the Super Bowl, granted the Eagles have a fantastic roster, but he said they have trust and a connection and camaraderie within that locker room. And I think that coincides with Arthur Smith and Jonnu Smith. There's a trust there. And I think another arm in Arthur Smith's arsenal in terms of a player coach on the field kind of saying, hey, this is how we want to do this. This is how he wants it done. But I like the move. And I don't know what you guys agree on the Mika Fitzpatrick front. I don't know if he played his best football last year. I don't look like they got any worse. I do think they got better in the trade, but
I think
Jalen so far.
I think Mika had a spectacular spring. So I'm not buying any of this. He lost the step stuff.
Nah, I didn't think he played that
I
well.
saw some athletic movement that I'm seeing from Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey is a little more sudden, but Minka, it was sudden and explosive and could run anyone down. But Jalen Ramsey's a stud, and he's mysterious. Minka was mysterious kind of in a quiet way. Jalen, man, he got his hood up, and it's like he's the real leader, but he's going to let Deshaun Elliott handle it. Deshaun's been here 2 years, seems to be – these guys, I asked Joey, who's the leader of the secondary? I mean, you have the most years, but come on, you're not going to be telling Jalen Ramsey and Deshaun Elliott and these guys what to do, right? Darius Slay. He goes, I think Deshaun Elliott's emerging as the guy with deference to Ramsey when he wants to talk. Otherwise, Ramsey is the ghost out there. He's going to show Polamalu like playmaking instinct and sudden movements to something that he sees that is probably right on, and giving signals to guys like Elliott to cover for him. Well, I can see it turning into the Ryan Club. And Ramsey be the playmaking ghost that Polamalu was. And Slay and Porter's getting more confidence. Porter had a big day today. You're going to be reading all about Porter. He gave a mob interview to group, and he had a couple early tackle for losses. Didn't he have some big tackles, Bo?
Yeah, he had a good
JPJ.
Day. The whole defense. I mean, it was just hard not to watch the plays and scribble in your notes. Tackle for loss, or pressure behind the line of scrimmage, or them batting down balls. And I think 78 have a batted down ball.
That was a couple days ago, but 78. That's black.
Yeah. Somebody had a batted ball down today. I don't think it was.
Did
black.
he? Herbig's a handful too. I kept writing down Harmon. What a handful for these guys in one-on-one. He doesn't actually beat the guy totally in one-on-one, but the guard is just hanging on for dear life to just barely keep a little bit off the quarterback. Harmon is a handful. Herbig, those outside linebackers, this is an impressive defense. And I overheard Tomlin say to Ike Taylor, there's real confidence here. It's genuine. I've been around phony confidence before, and this ain't it.
You guys are setting me up perfectly for this last question. Jim, you used the word mysterious to describe Jalen Ramsey. There's almost mystery about what this newly packaged secondary is going to look like. Now, I know they have carryovers and Porter and some of the others here, but it's really going to be neat to see what that looks like on the field in terms of chemistry. And that brings me to my final question here for both of you. I know it's early, but every team typically has its nature, its essence, its character, and you guys have hit on some of these things here, but what is the feeling that you're getting from this group so far in terms of what they're going to bring on the field? What is their personality? And Jim, if we could start with you.
Well, the defensive personality is going to be a bunch of junkyard dogs. I mean, look, it's too bad they couldn't have kept Minka and really figured something out, just to give Jacksonville money for those two guys, whatever. So adding Harmon, of course, adding Ramsey is special, but adding Harmon in the middle of Hayward and TJ, and I know Keanu will be in there too, but they've added a real handful, a real problem in there. And Cam's already a problem. TJ, we know, is a problem. Highsmith's going to be, they're all going to be, you're going to get me carried away. Those mid-'80s, the Bears, the Giants, the Redskins, those great FC defenses, that confidence just builds and swells as the season goes on, and you notice that identity. There's no, what were the Steelers ranked last year defensively? Now, if people were going to say it, and when they're number 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you're going to say, yeah, I see it. They're junkyard dogs out there. So that's what's going to happen. And as Aaron gets on, as the running game gets on, as Broderick gets it together, as Darnell Washington helps out over there with Broderick, and they get the running game going, they can do some play action. Rodgers loosens up. Jonnu, Freiermuth, Big Metcalf. Yeah, the offense doesn't have enough yet, but that defense might be able to bide some time until Aaron gets hot like he did at the end of last year.
Bo?
Yeah, I hate just to echo what Jim says, but it's hard not to just see what is on the field and the pieces that they have. And you have to get excited defensively, and those outside linebacker groups, especially I think with Jack Sawyer and Herbig, and you got Highsmith and Watt, and then you got Peyton, Wilson, and Patrick in the inside. And then you look on the nickel, you could have a Ramsey. And, when these guys are warming up, Ramsey's going between the safeties and the defensive backs. I mean, he's getting used. He's going to be used everywhere. Jim talked about maybe Deshaun's the main guy, but Ramsey's really the guy. I guess the easiest way to say it is kind of like Tony Soprano and Junior Soprano. Tony ran the family, but he let Junior think he ran the family. I think that's kind of the philosophy. Listen, the offense looks ugly, and there's a lot of question marks. We have an offensive line that's young. I don't know if Broderick Jones is ever going to be the guy. Fontana looks tough. Zach Frazier looks like he's definitely going to be a guy that we can count on. But, that left tackle position, we need a number 2 receiver. Jim mentioned earlier, we have a rookie running back that had a bad day and backs on backers. You got to be able to block, but that'll come along. That's part of the process of learning. So it's going to be a typical early season Steeler year, I think, where it's ugly offense, and we're going to need a defense to kind of carry them till the offense figures it out. And it was every team in the league. You just got to hope no injuries. Just keep these guys safe, keep them healthy. And, if that would be graced by that blessing, then the Steelers should be in a good position to kind of develop.
The junkyard dogs need to stay healthy.
Yes.
So,
okay. Well, I ended with the junkyard dogs. Bo ended with a blessing for health. So that's a perfect way to end.
Brings it full circle. Well, we want to thank everybody for watching, for supporting the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. And we'll see you back here for a brand new episode. Jim, Bo, great stuff. And we'll see you next time.
Adios, gentlemen.